One of the position groups that really kind of underperformed last year, really underperformed last year was the offensive line. So the Colts have got a new offensive line coach. It's no longer Chris Strasser, it's Tony Sparano Jr. And we got a chance to catch up with Tony Sparano today, ask him some questions, and find out exactly how and why things are going to be a little bit different in 2023.
It's been a short process for you, but what are your impressions of what you're inheriting?
I'm really excited and really encouraged. I'll say that I have a ton of respect for the guys that we have here as part of this offensive line. We've got some established players that are veterans that have been really good players in this league that I have a ton of faith in and a ton of confidence in. And then we have some exciting young players that I'm really excited to work with that did some good things last year in the early parts of their careers, and that I'm expecting to continue developing and adding more and more to our group. And then we got some guys that have been in backup roles or that are young players trying to ascend that I think can add a lot to our group as well. So I'm really excited about the group.
Who are the young guys that you like?
What'd you say?
Who are the young guys you said that are?
So in terms of the guys that played it last year, Bernie, obviously, Bernard, our left tackle, well, he did a lot of good things, making starts at left tackle. It's a hard position, obviously. Coming in as a rookie in the NFL to start at, was really encouraged by a lot of what I saw in his tape, both in pass protection and in what he can do for you in the run game. Will Fry's our right guard. Made a lot of starts last year, and I thought did some really good things. Again, encouraging. I know when we played him in New York, just watching him go toe-to-toe with the two D tackles that we had with Dexter and Leo and not backing down on that again, had a ton of respect for how he approached that. And Danny Pinter's made some starts and has done some really good things at both center and guard. So I'm excited to see him continue to develop in both of those roles. And then when you start to look at guys that maybe haven't gotten the chance yet, but that we've got at the bottom of the roster that are maybe in backup roles, and we're trying to get them to develop and ascend, whether it's Arlington Hambright, Wesley French, Dakota Shepley, Jordan Murray, excited about working with all of those guys and getting them an opportunity to get in there and potentially win a role, help us moving forward. So just, again, really excited about the group top to bottom.
As you look at the tape from last year, what can you do to help them move forward and perform better?
Yeah, listen, there's always things that when you go back at the end of a season, any position group that you're going to look at and say that we can improve. Some of the things that I'll ask them to do will be a little different technically than what they've done here in the past. So I'm interested, again, to see us as we start to grow within those techniques. Some of the things that we'll do scheme-wise will be a little bit different as well, and I think both of those things can help them. And then just getting guys more consistent in terms of being all on the same page together. I'm big into 5 guys playing as one unit. To me, the offensive line room has got to function as one unit and one entity and one heartbeat. And if we do that, then we have a chance. If we don't, I think as an offensive line, you're lost. So to me, that's a big thing I've been harping on since day one. I'm a firm believer in that. And then within that, the techniques, the style of play that we'll have, the scheme that we'll employ as an offense, I think all those things can help those guys develop and play together.
When you talk about the guys that are established starters, right? Ryan, great.
Exactly.
I think they would admit that wasn't their best season last year. You didn't struggle. They're not telling you anything you don't know. Is it technique, or is it? I mean, even Ryan said last week that group lost confidence late in the season. How do you get those guys who've done really good things in this league to find that confidence?
Again, to me, my perspective of this moving forward is I'm not concerned about what happened here in the past. I'm concerned about today and moving forward, and I know that's where their mindset is as well. So to me, how do we do that? We go about it by building the dynamic of the group from scratch. This is a new group. It's a new year. There are guys in the room that weren't here last year. Certainly I'm new this year. My assistant, Chris Watt, who does a great job with us, is new this year. And obviously the whole coaching staff is new. So to me, blank slate, tear out the page. It's a brand new deal moving forward here, and we start building our identity, our chemistry, and our confidence by playing together, trusting one another, and forming that bond as a unit this year, regardless of what happened last year, and buying into the things we're doing moving forward. And I think that's how we'll go about doing that.
Obviously, your dad, I assume, was a big influence, but who else has been a big influence on what you believe and how you coach this? And
so obviously my father's huge influence on me always. Love him, miss him every day. The things he taught me, use every single day. Bobby Johnson of the New York Giants had a huge influence on me. Working with him last year was incredible. Pat Meyer, who I worked with in Carolina, and then George Warhop and Doug Marone, who I was lucky enough to work with in Jacksonville. I'd say those 4 guys, aside from my father, would be the 4 guys that have had the most influence on me as a coach. Certainly how I see the O-line.
Did it feel like this was a long time coming in terms of getting the full offensive line position? After you've been coaching for like more than a decade, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I was fortunate enough to you know, I've been a position coach before. I was a tight ends coach in Buffalo, so I've been fortunate to have that position experience, and I've always wanted to be a line coach. That was always the goal that I had in mind.
Why?
You know, listen, I would say it started when I was younger. Obviously, watching my dad coach that position, I always thought it was something special. The bond created by those 5 up front when they truly play and function together as one unit is a really special thing. And I always wanted to be a part of that, you know. I was an offensive lineman when I played in high school until we moved to Dallas, and I got told I was way too little to play offensive line because at the time I was 5'9", about 216 pounds. Obviously, I'm much bigger than that now. But, you know, you go out into Dallas 5'5" and those boys are pretty big. So, but, you know, I always wanted to be part of that dynamic and building that dynamic. And certainly once I was fortunate enough to work in the offensive line room early in my career, my first year in the NFL in Miami, I was in the offensive line room. We had some great veteran players. You know, Mike Pouncey was a rookie at the time, but Jake Long, Mark Colombo, Vernon Carey, these are great veteran players. And watching those guys play together and communicate with each other, it was just a special deal, and I always wanted to be part of that, you know. So as far as it being a long time coming, like, you know, I think every year in this job, in this business, you just do the best job that you can in whatever role. Nothing's too big, nothing's too small, and you just keep grinding and hope that, hey, you know, you keep getting better every year and good things will happen. And I'm certainly ecstatic to have this opportunity.
What specifically have you had to do to prepare for the draft? What are your responsibilities?
It's evaluating the draft class. So, you know, again, whether that's obviously you watch the tape to break down what you think of the player and his skill set, how he could maybe fit the team and the group that we have, and then within that, zooming these different guys or interviewing them at the combine so you get a feel for their personality. How would that impact the dynamic of the room? You know, they have any leadership potential as a young player coming in? What would their dynamic fit with the other guys that we have? So it's a little bit of both of those. You know, you're watching the tape and you're evaluating what you see there, and then you're getting a feel for getting to know these guys and maybe what foundation they have football-wise in terms of what they've been taught, what they've learned, and then their personalities.
All specific to O-line.
All specific to O-line.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
Thanks, Coach.
Of course.
That's Tony Sparano Jr. I like him. It's got to be an upgrade, right? Not that there was anything wrong with Chris Strasser, but the offensive line just didn't perform last year, and it seems like this is the kind of guy who's going to preach that brand of togetherness that is absolutely essential for an O-line to operate and function and win.